Los Angeles was waking up slowly. The sky above the city was still covered by a light morning mist, through which the sun's rays barely pierced. At this hour, Beverly Hills was just beginning to come alive, empty sidewalks, slowly opening cafes, and shiny cars lazily pulling up to the curbs. And among all this measured luxury walked a man who, at that moment, hardly anyone would have recognized. Leonardo DiCaprio was wearing simple light jeans, comfortable sneakers, and a gray t-shirt. His head was covered by a dark baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He liked disappearing into the crowd, becoming invisible. In moments like these, he felt he could live a normal life, free from camera flashes and constant attention. For several weeks, DiCaprio had been thinking about buying a new car. Something eco-friendly, but also stylish and unique. Nothing too flashy, but with character. His agent had offered to organize a private meeting with dealers, but Leo had other plans. He wanted to choose something on his own, calmly, without officials or scripts, simply finding something he genuinely liked. At the corner of 5th Street, a luxurious car dealership caught his eye. Tall glass walls, sparkling brand signs that took your breath away. Lamborghini, Ferrari, Aston Martin, all in one place, for the most discerning clients. Leonardo smiled to himself. Why not? He crossed the street and pushed the heavy glass door open. The showroom greeted him with the scent of expensive leather, polish, and the faint aromas used to treat the interiors of premium boutiques. Soft, almost imperceptible classical music floated through the hall. Behind a tall, glossy reception desk stood a woman in a formal suit. She gave him a quick glance, devoid of either interest or warmth. "Good morning," Leo said politely, adjusting the brim of his cap. "How can I help you?" the woman replied with little enthusiasm, without even raising an eyebrow. "I'd like to look at some cars," he said calmly. "Maybe find something to buy." The woman hesitated for a second, then forced a tight smile. "Viewing is by appointment only." "Sorry, but all slots are booked today," she said in a rehearsed tone. DiCaprio glanced around the showroom. It was empty except for one man, likely an employee, slowly polishing the hood of a silver Aston Martin with a cloth. "I understand," Leo said. "Maybe I could just take a quick look?" "I won't take long." The woman gave a cold smile and glanced at his casual outfit. "Sorry, but we have internal policies. Access to the vehicles is for verified clients only." "What do you mean by verified?" DiCaprio asked, keeping his voice calm. "Clients who have undergone verification. Bank documents, references, invitations to private meetings," she explained with exaggerated politeness, as if reciting a memorized script. For a moment, DiCaprio felt like a character in a bad movie. A simple wish to choose a car had turned into a strange scene where he was being measured with a look as if he were some homeless drifter. "You're seriously telling me I can't even take a look?" he asked, raising an eyebrow slightly. "That's correct, sir," the woman said with soft firmness. "We must maintain our standards." From deeper within the showroom, another man approached, presumably a manager. A slim man in an expensive suit, with a perfect haircut and a pricey watch on his wrist. "What's the issue?" he asked, not even glancing at DiCaprio. "This gentleman would like to view the vehicles without an appointment," the woman said, barely hiding her irritation. The manager finally looked at Leo, quickly sizing him up based on his simple clothes, and let out a barely noticeable scoff. "I'm afraid that's not possible," he said almost warmly, but with a hint of mockery. "Today is a private event. Only for regular clients." Leonardo paused for a second. A wave of indignation surged inside him, but he suppressed it. "Thank you for your hospitality," he said briefly, turning toward the exit. As he walked toward the door, he heard a barely audible snicker behind him. The manager had evidently whispered something to the receptionist. In that moment, something clicked inside Leo, not from anger, but from a deep sadness. After all these years of work, building his career, fighting for roles, taking risks, winning. He was now judged by his baseball cap and sneakers. Outside, it was brighter. The sun had already driven away the mist, and Los Angeles was shining with its familiar light. Leonardo pulled out his phone to call a car. At that moment, a young man around 20 years old stopped in his tracks nearby. "Hey," he exclaimed. You're DiCaprio, right?" Leo froze for a second, then gave a tired smile and nodded. The guy immediately pulled out his phone for a selfie. Other passers-by began to turn and look. A small crowd started to gather near the dealership, some just curious, others wanting to see if a real star was there. Only now did the dealership employees behind the glass walls begin to realize whom they had just so unceremoniously turned away. DiCaprio watched it all with a hint of irony. He never liked attracting attention. But sometimes reality had a way of setting things straight without his involvement. The manager and the receptionist, hastily putting on their best smiles, rushed toward the door. But Leonardo was already opening the door to his Tesla, parked 2 blocks away. He didn't look back. To him, the story was already over. And it was only just beginning. Leonardo DiCaprio walked leisurely, holding his phone in his hand. Behind him, a low hum still followed, someone was shouting his name, someone else trying to snap a photo. He understood, if he stopped now, the crowd would double. So he kept walking, mentally distancing himself from the chaos. The footsteps behind him grew louder. Someone was catching up. "Mr. DiCaprio! Mr. DiCaprio!" a breathless voice called out. Leo only stopped when the dealership manager himself ran up to him. His face was completely different now, the rehearsed politeness had turned into panic. "Please forgive us," the manager blurted out, struggling to catch his breath. "This was a terrible misunderstanding. Please, allow us to invite you back. We'll prepare a special presentation for you, our best models, a private coffee bar." Leonardo stared at him silently, saying nothing. "We're offering you VIP service," the manager added, wiping the sweat from his forehead. "A personal tour of the showroom, a dedicated consultant." The woman from the reception desk also hurried over. Her cold, haughty demeanor had transformed into a servile smile. "We'll do everything we can for you," she nearly sang. "Please, just give us a chance to make things right." For a second, DiCaprio wanted to ask them, what if I hadn't taken off my cap? What if passers-by hadn't recognized me? Would you still have looked down on me? But he held back. Why waste energy explaining anything to those who only see the cover? "Thank you," Leo said calmly. "But I've already made my decision." He turned and walked away. The manager stood there, staring after him in bewilderment, as if still hoping DiCaprio would turn around. A few blocks later, Leo stopped by a small coffee shop. He had been here many times, a modest place without pretension, where no one whispered behind his back. He ordered a cappuccino and took a table outside, hiding in the shade of a large umbrella. The coffee was hot and strong. Leonardo took a sip and closed his eyes for a second. He liked these moments of silence, when the whole world seemed to pause. "May I?" a polite voice said nearby. Leo opened his eyes. Standing before him was a man in his 40s, wearing a perfectly tailored but understated suit. He held a folder bearing the logo of a prestigious car brand. "I saw what happened," the man said. His face was open, without a trace of insincerity. "I wanted to apologize on behalf of the whole industry. We're not all like that." DiCaprio smirked slightly. "It's not your fault." "Perhaps," the stranger agreed. "But I'd still like to offer you something." He placed the folder on the table. The letters stood out clearly: Lucid Motors, a company known for creating luxurious next-generation electric vehicles. "We would like to invite you to our showroom," he continued. "No formalities. No folders and suits. Just to have a look, get acquainted with the cars. As a guest, not a potential customer. Leo picked up the folder and flipped through it lazily. The photos were impressive, elegant body lines, thoughtfully designed interiors, powerful yet eco-friendly engines. "Why me?" he asked, setting down his coffee cup. The man shrugged. "Because we value not just customers, but people who truly appreciate the value of ideas. And because, if you'll allow me to say so, we believe appearance doesn't define a person." The words were so genuine that, for the first time that day, Leonardo felt a slight warmth inside. Not because he was recognized. Not because he was being rolled out a red carpet. But because someone saw a person in him, not a commodity. He closed the folder, looked at the man, and said quietly, "All right. I'll think about it." "We'd be honored," the man said politely, and without pressing, walked away. Leo remained at the table. People hurried past, some laughing, some arguing on the phone. Amid all the noise, he suddenly felt he had made the right choice. He had stayed true to himself. Sometimes, to see real value, you just need not to rush. You need to give people time to reveal themselves, and be ready to walk away if they don't. Leonardo finished his coffee, got up from the table, and strolled down the street, the Lucid Motors folder tucked under his arm. This time, without haste. And without looking back. He knew, the most important encounters happen when you least expect them. And his meeting with a real choice was only just beginning. The morning began with a cool breeze. A light jacket, jeans, sneakers, Leo dressed simply, yet stylishly. He put on his sunglasses, started the car, and headed toward the western part of the city, where a modest Lucid Motors showroom was tucked away among office buildings and parks. The navigator announced, "In 200 meters, your destination." Leo pulled up to the building and immediately noticed the difference: no massive glass windows with flashy signs, no loud neon banners. Just an elegant plaque on the wall. Lucid Motors. Inspired by dreams. The parking lot was nearly empty. Only a few cars stood there, each looking like a work of art. DiCaprio stepped out of his car, adjusted his sunglasses, and walked toward the glass door. It opened automatically, and a soft aroma of wood and light citrus notes washed over him. Inside, the space felt open. The floor was made of natural stone, and the walls were adorned with photographs of nature, mountains, deserts, endless roads. A faint instrumental melody played in the background. There were no pushy salespeople. No one rushing over with brochures. Just a quiet, gentle atmosphere. "Welcome, Mr. DiCaprio," said a young man in a light gray blazer, approaching calmly. "My name is Marcus. We've been expecting you." Leo gave a slight nod, surprised at how calm and respectful the greeting was. "Would you like to look around on your own?" Marcus asked softly, "or would you prefer a personal tour?" "I'll look around," Leonardo said. Marcus politely stepped back, giving him space. Leo walked along the lineup of displayed models. They were different from anything he had seen before. These cars didn't scream about their status. They seemed to whisper, "We're here for you. If you're ready." One car, in particular, caught his attention, a silver-gray model with a minimalist, almost sculptural body. The lines were so fluid, it felt as though the wind itself had drawn its shape. The plaque read, "Lucid Air Sapphire, Next Generation Electric Sedan." Leonardo slowly circled the car, running his hand across its mirror-smooth surface. No unnecessary details, no aggressive design, just pure power hidden behind elegance. Marcus approached, maintaining a polite distance. "Would you like to take a look inside?" he asked. Leo nodded. The door opened smoothly. The interior felt like a world of its own, minimalist yet warm. A panoramic roof flooded the space with soft light. Materials included reclaimed wood, natural leather, and soft textiles. A perfect blend of modernity and respect for nature. Leo sat behind the wheel. The seat adjusted effortlessly to his body. In front of him, a slim, intuitive digital panel. He closed his eyes for a moment and imagined, morning, an open road, a gentle press on the pedal, complete unity with the road. "We are in no rush," Marcus said, as if reading his mind. Lucid was created for those who value not speed, but the journey. Those words touched Leo deeper than he expected. He remembered how often, in recent years, he had felt tired of superficial meetings, rushed deals, forced decisions. It all seemed like a race that had long lost its meaning. But here, now, no one was pushing him. No one was selling him a dream. They were simply offering him a chance to make it real, if he chose to. "What are the specifications of this model?" Leonardo asked calmly, returning to the moment. Marcus began explaining, an engine output of over 1,200 horsepower, 0 to 100 km per hour in under 2 seconds, a range of around 800 kilometers. But even in his explanation, there was no pressure, only facts. Only respect for the choice. "We offer a test drive at any time that's convenient for you," Marcus added. "No route restrictions. Want to drive to the mountains? Or to the ocean? The car is at your disposal." Leo smiled. This was exactly what he had hoped for. Before he left, Marcus handed him a small card. "Your journey begins where expectations end." On the back, his personal code to book a test drive. Leonardo stepped out into the street. The trees along the road swayed gently in the wind, and the sun shimmered in the dewdrops on his car's hood. He knew, buying a car wasn't just about choosing a model. It was always about choosing a way of life. And maybe, here, in this quiet place, he had found not just a new car. He had found a reminder of what the journey could be. He hadn't made his final decision yet. But for the first time in a long while, he felt there was no need to rush. The most important choices are made in silence. And ahead of him lay a road, without haste, without imposed roles. Leonardo DiCaprio slowly pulled away. Over the California coastline, the morning sun had just risen, bathing the waves and the pine-covered hillsides in golden light. The ocean-scented breeze played with the curls of his hair, and inside the new Lucid Air Sapphire, there was nothing to be heard except the faint hum of the tires on asphalt and the soft murmur of the electric motor. Leo lowered the window, letting in the coolness of the morning air. The natural leather seats remained cool despite the first rays of the sun, enhancing the feeling of freshness and a new beginning. The sun had barely risen above the horizon, and he could already feel its gentle warmth brushing against his face. Each deep breath felt like a gulp of freedom, a meditation in motion. It seemed as though his entire being was quietly filling with this dawn light as the road and sky merged far beyond the horizon. He let go of the accumulated fatigue, as if exhaling all the stress of the past weeks. The empty highway ahead wove smooth curves that the car glided along easily and gracefully. A glint of sunlight slid across the lacquered surface of the car's body, and it seemed as if the entire world was frozen in that shimmering frame. All the morning silence and light seemed to dissolve into his consciousness. Clear thoughts about simple things filled Leo's mind, the sea breeze in his hair, the endless blue of the ocean, the realization that the world was far larger than the noise of big cities. Sometimes, it only takes a few such moments to feel your own smallness in the ocean of existence, and in that realization, he found profound peace. He allowed himself to simply be here and now. Sitting behind the wheel, he thought about life as a long road, full of unexpected turns and mysteries. In the rearview mirrors, fleeting silhouettes along the roadside flickered, like passing memories. Leonardo thought about how often people judge by appearances, by clothing, hairstyles, or characteristic gestures. Beneath any surface lies so much more, and he knew it well. In Hollywood, he was often seen amid the glitz of galas and movie premieres, but many forgot that behind those roles and images was just an ordinary man, capable of wonder, love, and tears. Now he was simply a driver, alone with the road, needing no applause from anyone. With every new mile, he moved farther away from the scrutiny of cameras and the noise of other people's stories, carrying with him a feeling of anonymity and peace. The world around him dictated a frantic pace, news flickered like the colorful lights of a big city, trying to tell everything at once. Social media and media outlets compressed time into just a few clicks, information flowed like a powerful river, leaving no room for true emotions. Leonardo reflected on how hard it sometimes was to resist the chase for letters on a screen and view counts. Here, on the Dawn Highway, everything was different. The car silently picked up speed, blending into the open space, and he felt only the steady rhythm of his own heart and the whisper of the tires as his sole companions. Inhaling the salty ocean air deeply and feeling the cool tingle on his skin, Leo reminded himself that true strength lies in the ability to remain calm. Under the drifting clouds and the fast-moving shadows of the hills, his thoughts grew clearer. The value of each moment is not measured by others' attention, but by the peace we carry within ourselves. He imagined his soul as a quiet forest pond, every surface noise fading away, leaving only a mirrored stillness reflecting the clear sky. But then, an image unexpectedly surfaced in his mind, a recent event. The memory came like a cold raindrop breaking the illusion of serenity, a brightly lit showroom, trendy cars, stern managers in suits, and himself, lost and embarrassed in front of one of them. Leo felt an unpleasant heat flare up in his chest. His mind involuntarily replayed the end of that scene, and an echo of the crowd's murmur rang in his ears. It was a moment when he realized his world had temporarily split into two realities, the quiet freedom of this road and the turmoil of someone else's narrative. The scene from the showroom felt foreign to his current peace. Leonardo sensed his heart skip unevenly, and his body tensed from the sudden wave of emotion. His subconscious whispered urgently, it was time to pull himself back to the present moment. He shook his head slowly, freeing his thoughts from intrusive images, and consciously refocused on the here and now. The phone lying on the passenger seat suddenly lit up with a notification. Leo leaned forward cautiously and glanced at the screen. There, the day's news, a video featuring him had instantly gone viral. Headlines were screaming that DiCaprio was thrown out of a Lucid showroom, and the view counter was soaring higher and higher. Each new notification was like a small wave of resonance. Friends and strangers eagerly shared the link, and journalists from Telegram channels and tabloids discussed the story overnight and into the morning. For a moment, an awkward smile flashed across the actor's face. Leo reflected on the irony. For some, it was just a frame, a harmless snippet of news, while for him, it was a step into a future he wasn't yet ready to talk about. On one hand, it was a tiny spark in his life, an insignificant event. On the other hand, a symbol of how a camera lens can tear a moment from its context and give the world a half-truth. He knew, thousands of people would see only a still image, without sound or explanations, imagining their own story without ever understanding his true feelings. His heartbeat quickened, and his grip on the steering wheel tightened. Leo took a deep breath, trying to regain his steady rhythm and clarity of thought. The silent electric motor of the Lucid Air carried the car swiftly down the highway, and the actor once again focused on the road. Ahead stretched an endless straightaway, with the line of the horizon blending into the sky. The sense of inner freedom grew stronger with every mile of asphalt left behind. Outside, the golden reflections of sunlight continued to scatter over the tops of the morning hills. Inside Leo, a quiet hope and relief stirred again. Each moment like this, each deep breath, was more valuable than any like or screaming headline. In this serene picture lay a bittersweet truth. In the pursuit of external recognition, we often forget what truly fills our hearts. Gradually, he felt his mind once again filling with the peace and warmth of the morning. And as memories of the noisy showrooms faded beneath the soothing symphony of the surf, Leonardo understood, the most important thing is to preserve inner peace, even when the whole world is watching through a black screen. For true strength lies not in the hurricane of opinions and headlines, but in the quiet center of one's own life. This test drive became for him a small island of silence and freedom, a deep breath before the next turn of the day. New clouds stretched across the Pacific Ocean, like invisible sketches of an unwritten story, ready to be born before everyone's eyes. Leo smiled slightly. He knew he was ready to meet any waves ahead, keeping the balance of his heart. He took one more deep breath of the dawn air, preparing for whatever trials awaited him on the road ahead. The news about how Leonardo DiCaprio was kicked out of a car dealership exploded across social media and news portals by noon. Memes, ironic headlines, and heated discussions all merged into one massive whirlpool of public opinion. Commentators were divided into camps. Some laughed, others were outraged, and still others sympathized. Under every post, a lively debate was sparked. How could they not recognize DiCaprio? Some wrote. They did the right thing, he shouldn't be walking around like an ordinary bum, others replied. That evening, when the sun painted the sky above Los Angeles in deep orange hues, a crowd gathered near the same dealership. Journalists, bloggers, and simply curious onlookers, everyone wanted to catch a shot or hear a comment. The dealership manager, a man in his 50s wearing an expensive gray suit, rushed out to the press and began to speak in a flustered manner. It was a misunderstanding. Our employee didn't recognize Mr. DiCaprio. We deeply apologize. His face was glistening with nervousness, and his voice trembled. A few hours later, an official statement appeared on the dealership's Instagram account, adorned with phrases like, regret, unacceptable mistake, and deep respect for Mr. DiCaprio and his outstanding contribution to culture and environmental protection. But it was too late. The backlash was too great. The story quickly spread beyond entertainment columns. It was discussed on morning talk shows, in evening news, and even on serious radio stations. On one popular podcast, they raised the topic of how often society judges people by their appearance, and why even Leonardo DiCaprio could face disregard if, at the time of the meeting, he wasn't flaunting the usual status symbols. And what about Leo himself? He made no comments. No official statements. No interviews. Instead, he enjoyed a quiet evening at home, watching the twilight slowly settle over the ocean. He had a glass of water with lemon in his hand. He scrolled through his phone, smiling as he saw the heated debate surrounding the incident. His friends, actors and directors, sent him playful messages. Well, bro, they didn't let you into the world of the rich too? Next time, wear your Oscar around your neck. I wouldn't believe it either if the real DiCaprio walked into the dealership in old jeans and messy hair. In response, he briefly wrote, "The world is a strange place. But all is well." Leonardo's calmness surprised many. But those who knew him better understood, for him, it was just another reminder that he had long stopped living for others' approval. He had long realized that a person's worth is not measured by brands or status, but by how they remain themselves when yet another artificial mirage falls apart around them. And then something unexpected happened. By the evening of the following day, a famous electric car brand, a competitor of the very dealership, publicly invited Leo to a closed presentation of a new model, adding a subtle joke in the invitation, "At our party, they'll definitely recognize you. And if not, password Oscar. A week later, Leonardo appeared at the presentation. Calm, unhurried, in his usual white t-shirt and jeans, he walked past reporters, politely nodding. All cameras were focused on him. His appearance became a symbol, a quiet response to all the recent noise. When one of the journalists finally asked, "How did you feel about the situation at the dealership?" Leo smiled his signature half-smile and said, "Life's too short to get upset over little things. The most important thing is to know who you really are." And he went into the hall, where like-minded people, new projects, and real life awaited him. No masks, no status. The next morning, major headlines read, "DiCaprio showed the world that dignity isn't measured by the price of a car."